Tomorrow and tonight you belong to me.
Okay. I've had enough. Into the firehouse.
I can't believe we haven't thought of this one already. Journey of 100,000 years.
Okay, nice, nice. God gave rock and roll to you too. Timer.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna get deep on this one. I'm going unreleased.
Okay.
Love theme from Kissin' Time Traveler.
Damn, dude. Well done. Okay, I got a triple play from Revenge.
Ooh,
Every time I look at you, I just want to take it off.
dude. No, dude. Every time I look at you, I still love watching you take it off.
Even better. Oh man.
It's like
Where
we're
do we
besties or something.
where do we go from there?
Well, I've got an expanded edition of the best one ever.
Okay.
King of the Mountain of the creatures of the crazy, crazy nighttime world without heroes.
Rip and destroy. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 28 of the Rip and Destroy podcast. I'm Mike,
TJ.
and today we're going to talk about bootlegs. Since we're talking about bootlegs anyways, I'm sporting a Fugazi t-shirt, which of course is a bootleg shirt. Before we jump into bootlegs, there's two in particular we're going to talk about today. Two of the classics. It's going to be Houston 1977 on the Love Gun Tour, and then Largo 1979 on the Dynasty Tour. So if you've done any tape trading at all, if you picked up Kissology Volume 1, you've seen these, but we're going to dig into it, give a little history of our experience with bootlegs and some critique on both those shows. But before we do, what's on your mind?
I don't really have too much up front other than I want to give a shout out to Mr. Javier Boster. He is an admin over at the Kiss Army Omaha Facebook page, and he was the first person to let us know that his copy of the Rip and Destroy #1 fanzine reprint has arrived. So thanks for letting us know. I hope you like it. I hope you dig it. I haven't seen the reprint myself, so I hope it came out good. And he also wrote us an email, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But other than that, I don't have anything really any housekeeping for up front. How about you?
Couple quick things and then we'll dive into it because Javier also sent us a really cool challenge. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, a couple quick things. I saw something that I wanted to point out because you and I, we have a couple things in common. You know, the
Yeah, one or two.
Oreos and maybe probably something else.
Yeah,
We both love the Aminals.
right.
We love the Aminals a lot. And I came
Yep.
across something really cool because we've been talking about the Legends of Rock Expo down in Las Vegas with Gene
Hmm.
Simmons and, so many others. Stuart Copeland's going to be a part of it, Richie Ramone. There's a raffle going on where you can actually win a meet and greet with Gene and one of his bases. So you meet him at the expo and he signs a base. It's like a $10,000 package, you and somebody else, which in and of itself is cool enough. But all the proceeds go to a place called the Las Vegas Farm. They have something called a Barn Buddies Rescue. And I'll just share this real quick. It says, we're a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the rescue of abused, neglected, and abandoned farm animals. They provide housing, rehabilitation, and holistic care for abused farm animals, and they offer education about, safe habitats and care of farm animals in the valley. So that sounds really, really cool to me. It sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Candidly, I'm going to confess to the fact that I'm like, man, if I talk about this, more people are going to buy tickets. It's going to be harder for me to win. But what are you going to do? I love animals, and it sounds like a really cool thing to support. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
enter that raffle.
And then last time we were together, we were talking about some cover songs, and our buddy Fido left a comment on YouTube and said that his two favorite Kiss cover songs are Shandy's Addiction, Calling Dr. Love, good pick, and Toad the Wet Sprocket, Rock and Roll All Night. It's because we were
Hmm.
talking about that disco remix of Rock
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Roll All Night. Ooh, not so much, not so much. Sorry, man. But then he redeemed himself because he pointed out the fact, it's something I forgot to mention, that the Chemical People actually did a kick-ass version of Getaway. And if you're an old school punk rocker like he is, like I am, you know that Chemical People also became Down by Law with Dave Smalley from Dag Nasty and from All. And they did the first two Down by Law records together, including this one, which is called Blue, and is one of the top 10 greatest punk rock albums of all time on my list. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, man. I agree with you on Shandy's Addiction and definitely agree with you on Chemical People, but yeah, no Toad. This is a Toad-free
Ugh.
zone. Still love you, buddy.
There, yeah, there you are gunning for that top spot again. All right.
Okay, man. Well, we had a challenge. Why don't you unpack what Javier sent us? Because it's really, really cool.
So Javier sent us this cool email with kind of a question, kind of a challenge that he has asked some other podcasts, including like Shout It Out Loudcast. Love those guys. Shout out to Shout It Out Loudcast. But what his question is, instead of saying which songs from Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun would you like to have seen on Alive 2 so that it mirrors Alive 1 where it's like four sides of, you know, current material as opposed to that the studio side of Alive 2. Flip the script on that and say which songs off side 4 of Alive 2 would you place on Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun? That's like, which I thought was a really interesting question. And so we're going to tackle that question today. And let me just quickly read kind of the way he put it. He said, over the years, I've heard many podcasts do episodes about taking the studio songs off of side 4 of Alive 2 and replacing them with songs from Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun that were performed live but not included on Alive 2, so that Alive 2 mirrored Alive with only songs from the second trilogy of studio albums. My question is, instead of replacing those studio songs on side 4 of Alive 2 with songs from Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, if you were able to take those studio songs permanently off Alive 2, split them up between Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, which songs would you place on each album and where in the track listing would you place them? So that's a very interesting question and a cool challenge. And we decided to take that challenge and we have our lists, I believe. Do we
We
not?
do.
All
And
right.
we actually took it one step further because I also had the idea of if you're going to add a song to the record, what song do you bump to make room for it?
Is that where you would place it in the track listing? Because
Exactly.
that's the one
Exactly.
thing that I didn't really do is decide where it would go in the track listing, but I could
Okay.
probably figure it out. But yeah, a couple of them I did, a couple of them I bumped, a couple of them I couldn't bump. So let's see what we got. And so I figure what we should probably do is just go in the order of the tracks
Okay.
that on Alive 4.
And before we jump in, I'm just thinking, again, as an old school punk rock guy, I'm like, why wasn't that just an EP? That would that would have made a great EP all by
Right,
itself. Put the
right.
live tracks on a live two and then release a subsequent EP. But
Hmm.
okay, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So let's start with All American Man.
Okay, All American Man, great riff. Bob Kulick, of
Yes.
course. I put that one on Love Gun, and I would bump Tomorrow and Tonight.
Okay. I said I would also put that one on Love Gun, and I would ditch Hooligan or Got Love for Sale. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, it's okay. I get it. I get it. Okay, coming up next, we got Rockin' in the USA. Where's that one
Yes.
going?
I think that one can only go on Rock and Roll Over.
Mhm.
And if I have to bump something off Rock and Roll Over, it's going to be Hard Luck Woman.
Ooh, ooh, man, we're just getting started. Pete's taking a beating already.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry,
If I
buddy.
could, if I could break the rules, I'd put this one on Hot in the Shade so I never had to listen to it. But you're totally right. With the feel and the production, it should go on
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Over, and I would bump See You in Your Dreams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
would. Not a fan.
Oh, I like that one. And that's something I didn't really mention about All American Man is that, I just think that's got such a tough riff that I think the Love Gun album could use an extra tough riff on it.
It could, and I think All American Man has potential to be a good song, but the chorus kind of kills it for me.
So then next we have Larger Than Life.
You know where I'd put it if I really could? Get this.
Where?
No, seriously. Creatures of the Night.
Okay.
It's dark, it's gritty. I think it would fit perfect on Creatures, but
Okay.
we don't have Creatures to work with. So
Right.
I'd put it on Love Gun and I would bump Got Love for Sale.
Okay. This one's a little out there. I said I would take Larger Than Life and put it on Destroyer,
Really?
but you would have to Bob Ezrinify it and
Okay.
add some add some like chorus or some orchestration or something because the song, I mean, yeah, it's a song about a dick, but
It's
you
a
have to
song about a
stay,
love gun. Come on.
it's a song about a love gun, but it's also larger than life. And that's what Destroyer was. Destroyer turned those guys into superheroes, something larger than life. So I think maybe if you rewrite a few lyrics, make it not so much a dick song, and like I said, add some of that Bob Ezrin magic. I think you could put that on Destroyer. And sorry, Pete, but you know which song I'm gonna
Oh
bump for that
man.
one.
I feel a trend is developing here. And then they could re-release Destroyer one more time.
Right.
Like now with
Yeah.
15% more dicks.
Right.
Okay, speaking of, since we're on
Yeah.
the topic, Rocket Ride.
Rocket Ride. So again, I think this one should go on Rock and Roll Over, which would then make it Ace's singing debut. which I think would
Ooh,
be interesting just because, and then, Shock Me would be like the follow-up. But I think it would be cool. Again, it's just a straight up rock song as you would expect from Ace. Got a cool, a couple of cool guitar solos on it, and Pete goes bonkers on the drums at the end. I think it fits with Rock and Roll Over. Now then, if I had to bump something, if I've already bumped Hard Luck Woman, yeah, honestly, I'd probably have to bump See You in Your Dreams. And I hate to say
yeah,
that because I do like that song.
right. Well, it's a great album.
Yeah.
So I went into this thinking that nothing was going to make it onto Destroyer because Destroyer is just, it's a
Hmm.
pretty bulletproof record cover to cover. But I love Rocket Ride so much. I think the highest praise I could give it would be to put it on Destroyer. I think it would
Hmm.
fit. And if I could, I'd bump Rock and Roll Party, but that's cheating.
Eh,
So I would
not
probably
not once they gave it a name. It didn't.
exactly.
It used to be untitled, but now on like, the newer releases, it's actually called something. So
If somebody calls shenanigans on that one, I will bump Great Expectations.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I would figure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then last but not least, we have Any Way You Want It, the Dave Clark 5 cover song. What do you think about that?
So that one, I would swap it out cover for cover, put it on Love Gun and kill Then She Kissed Me by the Crystals.
Exactly what I said.
Really?
Yep.
Very
Same.
cool.
Yep. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a better song.
And Love Gun is a better record now that we're done with it.
Yeah, I think I like this. I think we need to make a playlist.
Exactly. Thanks for a great question. Really appreciate it. Thanks for
Yes.
the email. It was very encouraging.
Yes, very
Ev-
cool. Happy to participate and enjoy that fanzine.
and definitely check out Kiss Army Omaha. It's a great Facebook page where you could get turned on to a lot of different Kiss podcasts.
Hmm?
And then Javier also shows a lot of his memorabilia and magazine articles and stuff like that. It's a really fun page to check out. So please do.
Yep. Awesome. Cheers, buddy.
Well, before we jump into Houston 1977, I thought it might be fun just to spend a couple minutes talking about bootlegs in
Hmm?
general. I've said before that, I feel very strongly about bootlegs, that I buy them, I trade them, but I didn't feel good selling them because it was, somebody's art. It was somebody's copyrighted material. But I used to love going down to Apple Emporium and looking through the bootleg section. That's where I got most of mine. So what about you? When did your love for bootlegs start and where did you pick yours up?
So it's a little different thing if we're talking about videos or records, because my first really exposure to bootleg records was, and this is going to sound like bullshit, let me tell you, but this is absolutely true. And I may have told this story before on the podcast, but when I was a kid, there was probably like every few months there was a comic book show and like collectibles show down at a bowling alley in Menasha, Sabre Lanes, you know it. And every, a couple times a year they would have like all the comic book dealers from the area, including like my local comic shop that I always went, they would all set up there, but there was also a lot of like collectibles, cards, and sometimes there was record dealers and stuff. And my first exposure to bootleg records was this record dealer who was there, and he had, a whole ass table of like, all of his vinyl, but he had nothing but bootlegs. And my little 12-year-old mind was blown right out the back of my skull because I saw all these albums by all these bands that I had no idea existed. And I went, of course, straight to the Kiss section, and I saw Fried Alive, and I saw Sneak Attack and Blitz London, and all these classic bootleg albums that you've all heard about that all cost way too much money now. Barbarize and a box set called Facelift that was like a 3 LP box set from the Lick It Up tour. There was one called Unmasked, but it wasn't Unmasked. It was like off the Animalized tour or something. So that was my first exposure to like bootleg albums. And so from then on, I was kind of, really excited about the prospect of like, these secret albums or these alternative albums that you weren't supposed to have and you weren't supposed to see and they weren't supposed to sell, but they existed. And so that's very intriguing to me. And then once we started to get into like video bootlegs, I'm not even really sure how we kind of really started stumbling across those, other than the fact that I had a couple other Kiss buddies, who were tape traders.
Right,
And
right.
we never really got too much into the audio cassette trading or anything, but we really got into the video trading. And I do remember that they had a couple of them down at New Frontier, maybe had some at Apple Emporium, but other than that, I think I had some lists from some friends,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of our stuff just through the network, like you do. And one thing that I wanted to point out too is that we're talking about bootlegs because we're talking about doing this like 30 35 years ago. Now I don't even know if like, other than in the case of like vinyl records, I don't even know if like bootleg videos are really even a thing anymore. Now it's just footage.
Right.
right? Like you can look it up on YouTube and it's just old footage. You can't find it on the official like Kiss Online website or YouTube page or Vivo page or whatever they have
Hmm.
now, but it's out there and it's just, it's this footage and you can pull it up on YouTube and you can watch any Kiss concert from any era of the band that you want. But what made them bootleg back in the day was that they were traded and, like you said,
Hmm.
leaked or stolen and traded, and that's what made them a little more fun back in the days because once again you weren't supposed to have them, but
Yeah.
we had them.
And you would type them all out in a list and you'd update
Hmm.
the list. And when you corresponded with other fans in different places that you met through fanzines or maybe at a convention, you'd swap your lists. And then it'd be like, okay, I'll give you this one and this one. Will you send me this one and this one? And
Hmm.
and that's kind of how it worked. But to your point, I remember one show in particular. It was the Speak of the Devil tour that Ozzy did in 1982 with Brad Gillis on guitar. I remember watching that on MTV when they did the Friday night concerts
Sure.
and then not being able to see that for decades and always wanting to relive that experience because it's a really fun show. And it was never really, the album was released, but the video was never released. So decades later, finding a bootleg of that for me was a really big deal. I remember Maiden's Life After Death wasn't re-released for a really long time. So getting a hold of
Hmm.
a bootleg for that, just because I saw it, I loved it, and I wanted to see it again, and it wasn't readily available. But yeah, for audio, the only real audio bootlegs I collected were Prince. It was that other used record store right off of college. I forget what it was called.
Yeah, New Frontier.
New Frontier. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
And the guy there always took really, really good care of me because he had the Prince CDs and they were, like, I don't know if they were like 30, $40. It was more than I had,
Hmm.
but he would tape them for me on a really nice cassette for $10. And then he always put pictures on the cover, and whatever room was left over on side B, he'd fill it up with unreleased, B-sides and unreleased Prince tracks from the vault that was every bit as cool as the concert I heard.
Hmm.
So I was collecting Prince bootlegs from him, and then the videos got from trading, and then also got from Apple Emporium. But I'm wondering too, with all the art that you've created and the music that you've created over the years, have you ever seen any of your own stuff get bootlegged or repurposed?
Oh God, no.
No?
No, it barely got released or got out there in the first place. Why would anybody bootleg it?
Uh,
What about you? Are there Thin Red Line bootlegs or Helen bootlegs?
well, the only thing, I've heard about it, I've read about it, and I want to get my hands on it, was Helen was on this compilation
Hmm.
CD that I looked for years because I left the band and left the state before I ever got my hands on this one. And
Yep.
there's some really amazing bands on it, like Promise Ring and Rainer Maria and others, really cool bands that we got to play with back in the day. And this was a gift from you. And honestly, man, it just touched my heart so much. This is one of the most amazing things I've ever received as a gift. But I heard and on Discogs, somebody left a comment saying that they used to have this on vinyl. It was like a gatefold double vinyl of this one that had to have been a bootleg because I know that the Core for Care didn't release this on vinyl. So if there, it's called "Ooh, Do I Love You?" If there's a vinyl copy out there somewhere, please hit me up because I would absolutely love to get my hands on that. That'd be very cool.
Yep. And by the way, that was not just a gift from me. That was a gift from Christina because she's the one who found it on Discogs
That's
and
amazing.
ordered it for you.
Well,
So
th
we both love you very much.
love you back. I really do. Thank you both. Thank you, Christina. That's amazing. I'm
Got
still
to give
without
her props
words.
for that. Yeah.
Still without
All right.
words.
So, with that, I guess we're going to kind of jump into this, and we're going to talk about two of probably the most widely distributed, widely seen, most you've definitely seen footage of both of these. We're going to talk about Houston, 1977. Specifically, that was a two-night stand. We're going to talk about the second night, September 2nd, 1977, and Largo, Maryland, 1979 on the Dynasty Tour. And here are my copies, original copies from the 90s, back when we were hanging out and watching them.
Okay, this is going to look a little bit familiar. Check that out.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, there they are.
Look at that. How familiar is that?
Our handwriting is just so unbelievably identical.
Right? How did that happen? So weird.
I've mentioned before that I used to let TJ borrow videos and stuff like that, and they would come back just he'd give them a hug, man. They had great covers and great spines and
Yeah, I got a little OCD about it, and I had to all of all of all of my bootleg tapes have the exact same layout on them. So like they're all like very uniform when you line them up. I
yeah,
made these homemade labels for every single one, and they're all they're all identical.
5 stars Woodland again.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with Houston, September 2nd, 1977. Like I said, the footage from actually the September 1st and 2nd is pretty widely available. But I always thought it was funny that the way you could tell which one you were watching is because on the second night, the one that we are talking about
Hmm.
tonight, like right in the first song, Paul smudges his lipstick,
Yeah, he does.
and it stays that way until after Ace's solo when he cleans it up.
Yeah, it's the first thing I noticed when I got it. And this was at the Summit, and Styx opened up that show.
Okay,
And this was the very first bootleg I ever got my hands on. And if you're going to get your hands on one bootleg, this is the one. Because
yeah,
if you're anything like me, this was the lineup, this was the stage, this was, the set list that you wanted to see ever since you opened up a Live 2 and saw the middle
yeah,
of that gatefold cover. And I remember it really well. I picked it up at Apple Emporium and I rushed home to watch it. And I was so into it that I was actually late for work at Badger Burger
nice.
because I couldn't tear myself away. It's that good. And it was pro shot by the arena because I think they, for safety reasons or something, the arena, the Summit, taped all of their shows. So the sound is right off the soundboard, and you got multiple cameras, and it's pretty much pro shot.
Yeah, I actually wonder if I think a lot of the footage, I think, Kiss probably set up some cameras at some, for some shows and kind of recorded them, a lot of them themselves. But I think a lot of what this footage is, it's kind of like pro wrestling. Like the house would tape them to show on screens, right? Like
Ah, gotcha.
either like, screens above the stage for, the people in the cheap seats or like, closed circuit TV like out by the concession stand so you didn't miss anything. Because we know that, in like the WWF back in the day, like the Spectrum and Philly and Madison Square Garden, they would tape those shows for in-house display.
Hmm.
And that's what WWF would use for like primetime wrestling with Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon. Like that's what they would show
Right.
would be that footage. So I'm guessing that a lot of these were probably taped for those reasons. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess, especially with some of the bigger arenas. Now, whether that's true for all of them or not, I don't know. Again, it's chances are that Kiss probably set up some or Casablanca, Glickman, Mark, whoever, probably set up cameras to tape a lot of the shows themselves too. But Houston, like I said, you've definitely seen footage from this. When I first saw the Houston '77 bootleg, I know for a fact that I had seen some of this when I was a kid because I have distinct memories of sometime around the time of Kiss Meets the Phantom watching another Kiss show on TV that was just a concert. So I think they must have seen some clips or footage of this at some point, even way back in like the late '70s. So this was pretty widely distributed. Like I said, you recognize this footage. Chunks of this have shown up in every Kiss documentary from VH1, behind the mask or whatever it was, or beyond the mask, up through the A&E documentary. It's a really widely seen, but and like you said, with good reason because it's really good. The set list is great. Gene's blood vomiting God of Thunder routine is one of my favorites. He goes up on the lift and it goes back and forth and he like does the point and then the thing blows
Yeah.
up and that's one of my favorites. Pete's solo is great on this one.
Oh, it is.
Um,
Yeah.
Ace's solo is awesome. He's like really, really into it. I love that part where his guitar's going off. He gets right up in the camera and shakes it like he knows he's being filmed. And I love that part. That's great. So yeah, Houston '77 is a banger. Definitely get your hands on this one if you're going to. Like I said, it's probably on YouTube. In fact, I'm positive it's on YouTube because I watched it earlier this week. It was also featured on Kissology Volume One. Let's see, it is. I don't know if all of these shows are complete. I think they, for the most part, are. But yeah, and the one that's on Kissology is the second night too. So
Yeah.
the first one also, if you can find September 1st, same set list and all that, equally good show. But for some reason, this is the one that really got out more. But yeah, so probably best quality you're going to find is going to be on Kissology. But failing that, it's pretty easy to find this one in any format.
And speaking of set list too, great set list. They open with "I Stole Your Love," which is
Yeah.
amazing. The encore was Detroit Rock City, Beth, and then Black Diamond. They
Hmm.
actually closed the set with "Rock and Roll All Night," which is really cool. But one of the things I did, of course, this was a tour where they supposedly recorded a live two, but there was at least a couple songs that were on a live two that weren't on the Love Gun set list. Those being Hard Luck Woman and Tomorrow and Tonight. So I'm curious if they just recorded those in the studio like they did other live tracks, or if they mixed up the set list from time to time. You know,
I'm guessing, you know what? I could grab my Alive Forever. book and double check that. I'm guessing those were constructed in the studio. But one thing that is interesting is that they did Hooligan for what it's worth.
Right, right,
And there is that misprinted version of Alive 2 that's big in collector circles that has Take Me and Hooligan. And those songs were actually, in the original set list. So unfortunately, to Javier's point, I don't know why they didn't include those
right,
instead
right.
of instead of the new songs on side 4. But there you have it.
I would like to read more too about the psychology between what makes a good set list versus what makes a good live album, because they also mixed up the set list quite a bit for the
Yeah.
record.
Yeah, that's an
So,
interesting point. That's an
yep.
interesting point.
But to your point from before about how a lot of the bootlegs were actually just what is shown up on the screens. I remember I've said this before, but when I saw the reunion tour in 1996, my brother and I were way off to the side. So we're very close to the stage, on the side of the stage. So the entire production was pointed towards the front. So I didn't even really know what the stage looked like. I was basically imagine standing on the side of the stage, everything you don't see what's facing front. And it wasn't until I got my hands on a bootleg, but after a year or two, I think you sent me a bootleg of the reunion tour, the 96 tour, and I was excited to see everything I missed when I saw the show live, but it turns out that that was the what was being projected on the screens in the arena. And what they project on the screens in the arena are close ups because that's what nobody can see. Of course, everybody can see the whole stage. Nobody can see, Gene's bloody grill. So it didn't help. I had to wait I had to wait for YouTube before I knew what the damn stage looked like.
Yeah, and let me tell you, 96 is a bootleg that I wish I had. We do have
Mm,
the off the soundboard that was recorded a week after I saw him, but I do wish I had a copy of Milwaukee 96 of my own. But again, I've seen it on YouTube here and there. So, but it would be neat to have it on VHS, wouldn't
that'd be great. That'd be great.
it?
And I'd love to get bootlegs of shows I've actually been to. I think the
Oh yeah.
closest was we were at the residency in Las Vegas, but not on the night that they filmed, but
Yeah, supposedly.
close enough.
Yeah.
I even consider going up to Canada on New Year's Eve 2000, where they recorded the Millennium
Oh,
live album.
yeah.
But thought better of it because Y2K and didn't want to be stuck up there when the world blew up. So,
You're
which
buying
all in
into
all,
the hype.
and had I known how slow Pete was going to play that night, I wouldn't have gone anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. True. True that.
Okay, then in 1979, July 7th and 8th, Kiss played in Largo, also known as Landover, Maryland, on the Dynasty Tour. Played at the Capitol Center, and they continued their long line of amazing opening bands like Judas Priest and AC/DC and Iron Maiden, and had a band called New England open for them, who
Oh,
sounds like an interesting mix of Survivor and Flock of Seagulls.
okay.
And man, what a difference a couple years makes because there is a profound difference between Houston 77 and Largo 79.
So so now I'm curious because I like this show. What do you think is the market difference between the two years?
I'll tell you what, let's get into it because I actually broke my list up into pros and cons. And I've never really liked this show. And I was trying to figure out where I saw the bigger decline in performance. Was it 77 to 79 or was it 96 to 2000? The difference between the reunion tour
Hmm,
and the farewell tour. And it's a toss up for me. Yeah,
really?
I'm surprised you like it. Now there are things I really dig about this show. Of course, it's 1979, it's Dynasty, the costumes are amazing, the stage is incredible. It's the same stage that they use on the Unmasked tour, but the funny thing is it's a difference between Peter Criss's drum kit and Eric Carr's drum kit, which can barely fit on the
Yeah.
drum riser.
Yeah, I was gonna say the difference being about 100 drums.
Exactly, exactly. And about 100 cymbals. And again, this one is pro shot and the audio is right off the soundboard. So there's a lot to like about this one. But before I get into what I don't like, what do you like about it?
I do think they sound good. I do like the set list. I think it's interesting that they start off with King of the Nighttime World on this one.
Hmm.
I like the fact that they each did a track off of their solo albums for what it's worth. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the Pete one, but I thought it was cool that they did Radioactive and Move On. Radioactive, which sounds a whole lot better live,
Yeah, it does.
as most Kiss tracks tend to do. That sounds a whole lot better with the band doing it live than it does on Gene's solo album. I think it's. I mean, I'm amused at the fact that Paul forgets an entire line of his own song "Move On," um,
Yeah,
which is you just see the deer in the headlights look, and then he just goes "woo" when he
of
was
course he
supposed to
did.
say when, right when he was supposed to say, "If you listen, you can hear the angels calling from above," or the voices calling from, but whatever that line is.
You can hear the
But yeah,
angels woo.
yeah, from above.
Yep.
Um, but no, I think other than that, yeah, I think it's the production is fine. The set list is good. I think yeah, I'm very interested in hearing what you don't like. I do have a couple of things to say about it, but we can probably hit those at the end.
Okay, but you're right though. The set list was really cool. Opening with King of the Nighttime World. It's another tour where they played Detroit in the encore,
Hmm.
and it's the only tour where they did the solo songs. And with the exception of New York Groove, it's the only time you're ever going to hear any of the solo songs on a Kiss tour. And the only other exception I can think of are the two tours that Paul did in '89 and 2006. Otherwise, I mean, this is it. And track two of this show was Radioactive. And then track three was Paul doing Move On, like you said. And then Ace did New York Groove, which was track seven. And then two songs later, he did 2000 Man. So just the
Right.
fact that Ace does two songs is really
Yep.
cool.
I love
And
that.
then there's Tossin' and Turnin', track 11 by Pete. But before I start to tear this one up a little bit. Another thing that's great about both of these shows, and you already brought this up, was Ace. On this show in particular, I really feel like the band is lackluster, except for Ace. He's playing incredibly well. He looks like he's having the time of his life, and with the costume and the light up guitar and everything, it's a great show for Ace. Plus, you get two songs.
Yeah.
But a couple things. I felt like it didn't have the life and the vibrancy and the fire that 77 did. It kind of felt like they're going through the motions. I think some of the tempos were a little slow. Little they dragged a little bit. The little things like, man, this kills me. But Pete, dude, paint your eyes, man. Paint your eyes.
Okay,
Seriously?
I couldn't tell if that was the lighting or if he just didn't.
Nah. No, Gene did that later in the career too, but he would just not paint like his eyelids.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter basically did Paul's bandit mask of skin
Yeah,
across
I
his
noticed that
eyes.
like the whole part where it's supposed to be green,
Yes.
per the Dynasty cover, it looks like it's blank. And I couldn't tell if it was just because it was under the lighting or if he
Nah,
sweated it off or what, or if he just didn't do it. I couldn't tell.
I think he didn't do it. I think it's easier to
Weird.
clean up after if you're not having to clean your eyeballs out. It's probably something that simple. He's like, it's a live show. Nobody's ever going to see this.
Well, that's interesting because according to the Kiss Alive Forever book, the note on July 8th is as he would several times throughout the tour, Peter deliberately botched Beth.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. Well, let's talk about that for a second, just in theory. You and I both played in bands. We both played live shows before, and God knows we've been to a million different shows.
Hmm.
I think the reason that Metallica is Metallica today, the biggest band in the world, is because the way they respect their audience. I'm not a fan, but I respect the band because when they were coming up, like at the Justice Tour, if you went to see them, they played for 3 hours. They
Hmm.
played really hard. They played really well. They mixed up the set list. There was a huge production. People got their money's worth out of it.
Hmm.
And then you had bands like Guns N' Roses that completely disrespected their fan base and made
Yeah.
them wait for hours upon hours. I think that's blasphemy. I think I
Yeah.
don't know why in God's name anybody ever gave them a second chance because I don't think they deserved it. I think
Right.
that's disrespectful to your audience. But to go on stage and just tank something on purpose in front of people who are singing along with you, who resonate with that song on a deep emotional and spiritual level. That's terrible, man. I never heard that, but that's horrible.
Yeah. I don't know about that either. Yeah, other than reading about it in this book, I didn't really heard anything about that either. Paul had a lot of shit to talk about Pete and his book. I don't
Yeah.
remember him particularly saying anything about him, tanking Beth on the 79 tour. I didn't read Pete's book, did you?
I did. I did, as a matter of
Okay.
fact. Yep.
And nothing you could see in there?
No, no.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think it might have been Paul's book, but there were also accusations on this tour that he would, really slow down tempos and stuff like that.
I
But
think that was on the farewell tour, wasn't it?
was it? Well, you and
Yeah.
I talked about that though. We never
When
really
Pete
found any video
y-
footage of that except for maybe the whole Millennium show.
Right. Well, and I think that was it. I think it was maybe towards the farewell era where Pete would bitch about like everybody playing slow and Doc would be like, "You're the fucking drummer."
Yes. That's got a
So
point.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
one other interesting thing about these the two shows that they did in '79 in Largo is that both shows were actually archived for video, but according to the book, and it was the in-house video crew, so I
yep.
was right about that. The first night, the band was so loud that it caused a fluctuation in the video signal, and the tape was deemed useless. Second night is not much better, but it is in the band's library. So,
Okay.
speaking of being in your library, not only was this again a widely circulated bootleg, this one is on Kissology Volume 2, if you're lucky, because this was one of the bonus discs.
Mm.
Depending on where you bought some of the Kissology DVD sets, you got different shows as a bonus. I don't remember which one this was, but I do have the bonus disc of the Largo show. So there is that. Again, probably going to be the best quality you can find. It's going to be on the Kissology DVD set. Your mileage may vary.
Is it the same set list? Did they cut anything?
Um, Ooh, now we're getting into the research. I'm checking
Nice.
the book and the back of the DVD here. So
Cross-referencing.
that's right. We're givers and we when we care. Because you know why? Because we're not going to tank the show for the audience. We're going to give it
Exactly.
110%. And if that means I got to do research on camera, I'm doing it.
Hell yeah. Preach.
Yeah.
Now that we've established that, I'm not going to edit any of this. I'm just going to let it roll because the longer it takes, the more we give.
I don't know about that. The longer it takes with nothing happening, the fewer viewers we're going to have.
Yep.
Okay, so let me
Eh,
check. This is edited
Okay.
heavily. They start with radioactive. They cut off King of
What?
the Nighttime World. I know. Why would you do that? So yeah,
Well did they cut it because it was a cover and I didn't want to pay royalties?
I
Maybe.
doubt it. It's on everything else. I don't
That's
know.
true.
I mean, well, I don't know. 2000 Man's not on the Okay, so yes, the original set list here: King of the Nighttime World, Radioactive, Move On, Calling Dr. Love, Firehouse, New York Groove, I Was Made for Loving You, Love Gun, 2000 Man, Aces Solo, Tossin' and Turnin', Gene Solo, God of Thunder, Peter Chris Solo, Shout It Out Loud, Black Diamond, Detroit, Beth, and Rock and Roll All Night. On the DVD is only Radioactive, Move On, Dr. Love, Firehouse, New York Groove, I Was Made for Loving You, Love Gun, Tossin' and Turn It. Why would they put love? Why would they put Tossin' and Turn It? Okay,
Right?
you can't make the argument about copyrights and cover songs if you put Tossin' and Turn It on here.
Good
Got a
point.
Thunder, Shout Out Loud, but Diamond, Detroit, Rock and Roll Night. So they cut out King of the Nighttime World, 2000 Man, and they cut out Beth. Okay, so they cut out three songs on the DVD release. So probably best video quality, but if you want those other three songs, especially King of the Nighttime World, guess you
Well,
need a bootleg.
they cut Beth, which makes me want to revisit that to see if they cut it
Yeah,
because you take the lyrics.
yeah, look it up on YouTube.
And it's not like Pete forgot the lyrics because if he did, he'd just say, "Woo."
Woo. He
Go.
couldn't have forgotten the lyrics because, as everybody knows, Peter Criss wrote Beth. Did you know that? Have you heard that? Peter
Huh.
Criss wrote Beth, and it was a big hit for Kiss. I don't know if you were aware of that. He's mentioned it once or twice.
You learn something new every day.
We're going to do this right now too. I'm going to pull this shit up on YouTube and see what happens. I'm really curious as to what he does to Beth. Okay, so he basically just like skipped an entire verse because he started laughing.
Yeah, yeah. He's saying the third verse where the second
Right.
verse should be,
Yeah, he fucked it up and then laughed his way through not singing that part of the verse. Okay, I got you.
and then like saying the second half of the third verse again.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really hard to tell actually when you watch him if he doesn't care, if he's doing it on purpose, or if he's just fucking drunk.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. When you watch it, it looks like he just screwed it up. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily look like he was trying to monkey wrench the whole show. I'd like to believe that's the case. I'd like to believe that, I'd rather believe he was drunk. I'd like to believe he just forgot the lyrics. I'd hate to think that he did it on purpose, but damn, did he mess that up. It's bad.
It's also a little bit on brand for him to do that, isn't it? Mess it up on
Yeah,
purpose.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Then the one time he kicked over his drum set, he's like, "Yeah, no encore. We're done."
Oh yeah, I think that
That
was at
happened.
his last show. Yeah, when
Yeah.
he pitched a little hissy fit and pulled a Keith Moon. Yeah.
Oh, Keith.
Oh
All
Keith and
right.
oh Pete.
And
Okay.
that, my friends, is why it's not on Kissology.
Yeah, most likely.
Although I could see Paul being like, "No, leave it."
You're right. Just prove my point.
Exactly.
All right. Well, okay. So that was two of the most widely circulated, most well-known bootlegs in the tape trading history of Kiss. There's so many others, though. I mean, we could call this volume one of our bootleg reviews. And hey, this was another article that we were supposed to do in issue 2 of Rip and Destroy, which we never got to, but we're finally getting around to it now, all the way in episode 28 of our podcast. So that and the song title hybrids up front. I mean, we're keeping that fanzine flame alive.
Exactly. Speaking of the fanzine, rumor has it you can get your hands on a copy. Not a
You can
bootleg copy, but more like an off the soundboard official bootleg copy.
It is an official bootleg copy. Actually, it's an official copy because I made it. We made it. And yes, there's a link below in the description. Go check that out. And you can order your very own copy of the original Rip and Destroy fanzine #1 reprint with a couple extra bonus pages. Other than that, Mike, where can people find us?
You can leave a comment just about anywhere. You can leave a comment on Instagram, on Facebook, on Spotify. You can send us an email, which would be very cool, like Javier did, at ripandestroypodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a note on YouTube.
Yep, and follow us on Instagram at Rip and Destroy Podcast. Otherwise, you know what? Lick a stamp and send us your video list.
Kill the power, Phil. Kill the power.